No one would have imagined that the man who once stood at the center of the world's greatest empire would spend his quietest nights writing about loneliness, restraint, and the fragile nature of the human soul. Marcus Aurelius carried the weight of Rome upon his shoulders, yet beneath the armor of an emperor lived a man searching for peace in the middle of chaos. Tonight, let us walk beside him through the cold frontier camps, through dimly lit corridors of marble palaces, and into the silent chambers of his mind where philosophy became the only refuge from the storms of power. When the cheers of armies faded and the celebrations of victory disappeared into the night, Marcus often found himself alone beneath endless skies. The empire expected certainty from him. His generals expected strength. His people expected salvation. Yet deep inside, he wrestled with the same fears, doubts, and exhaustion that haunt ordinary people. He understood something few rulers ever dared to admit. Power could command nations, but it could never silence the unrest within a restless heart. From an early age, Marcus was trained to become a leader. Discipline shaped his childhood. Every movement, every lesson, every conversation was carefully measured. While other children chased simple pleasures, he studied philosophy and learned the teachings of the Stoics. Their wisdom did not promise happiness through wealth or conquest. Instead, it taught him how to remain calm when the world became unstable. Those lessons became the quiet lantern he carried through the darkest years of his reign. Late at night, long after the palace had fallen silent, Marcus would sit alone and write reflections to himself. He did not write for glory or legacy. He wrote because he feared losing himself. The pages that would later become meditations were never intended for the public eye. They were conversations between a weary soul and the only companion he could fully trust. In those writings, he reminded himself to remain humble, patient, and kind even when surrounded by corruption, betrayal, and endless pressure. As Rome expanded, the burdens upon him only grew heavier. Wars erupted along the empire's borders. Rebellions threatened stability. Disease spread through cities like a dark winter wind. Entire regions fell into fear. Yet Marcus refused to let panic control him. While others chased distractions or drowned themselves in luxury, he returned again and again to stillness. He believed that the mind could become a sanctuary if one learned how to observe emotions without becoming enslaved by them. Many nights were spent beside the Danube River, far from the luxury of Rome. In military tents lit only by weak candlelight, Marcus listened to the distant sounds of soldiers preparing for battle. The cold air carried exhaustion through every camp. Yet even there, surrounded by uncertainty and death, he continued writing about peace. He reminded himself that anger solved nothing. He reminded himself that every human being carried invisible pain. He reminded himself that life itself was temporary, and therefore every moment deserved awareness rather than bitterness. What made Marcus Aurelius extraordinary was not his authority, but his refusal to let authority consume his humanity. He understood how easily power could poison the soul. Instead of surrendering to pride, he practiced humility with relentless devotion. He spoke carefully. He controlled his temper. He questioned his own motives constantly. Even as emperor, he viewed himself not as a ruler above humanity, but as a temporary participant in the vast rhythm of existence. The plague years changed him deeply. Death became unavoidable. Entire families disappeared. Streets once filled with laughter turned silent beneath the shadow of sickness. Marcus witnessed suffering on a scale few could endure. Yet rather than collapsing beneath despair, he leaned further into reflection. He began to see mortality not as cruelty, but as a reminder of how precious each breath truly was. Every sunrise became meaningful because it could not last forever. There were moments when exhaustion nearly overcame him. His body weakened from illness and endless responsibility. Trusted allies disappointed him. Ambition and greed surrounded the imperial court like hidden serpents. But Marcus continued returning to the same simple truth. A person cannot always control what happens around them, but they can choose the spirit in which they face it. That belief became the foundation of his resilience. As the years passed, the emperor slowly transformed into something quieter and gentler. He no longer sought admiration. He no longer cared about appearing invincible. What mattered most was preserving inner balance in a world addicted to noise. He found comfort in silence, in thoughtful breathing, in observing the natural order of life. Even in moments of grief, there was a softness within him that refused to disappear. Today, centuries after his death, Marcus Aurelius remains more than a historical figure. He feels like a calm voice speaking across time to anyone overwhelmed by modern life. His words continue to comfort people facing anxiety, heartbreak, uncertainty, and exhaustion. Not because he offered easy answers, but because he understood the quiet struggle of being human. He taught that peace is not found by escaping the world. Peace is found by learning how to stand within the storm without letting it destroy your center. He taught that gentleness is not weakness. Self-control is not repression. Reflection is not surrender. These lessons, written in the lonely stillness of military camps and sleepless nights, continue to glow like distant stars against the darkness. And perhaps that is why his story still feels so alive. Beneath the crown and titles was simply a man trying to understand how to live with grace while carrying unbearable weight. In the end, Marcus Aurelius did not leave behind treasures or monuments greater than his empire. He left behind a way of seeing life that transforms fear into acceptance and chaos into quiet understanding. Now the fire has grown softer. The night has become still. Imagine the philosopher-emperor once more sitting alone beside flickering candlelight, listening to the wind outside his tent while carefully writing reminders to himself about patience, kindness, and peace. Let those thoughts drift gently into your own heart tonight. No matter how heavy your day has been, may you also find a small sanctuary within yourself where the noise of the world cannot reach. May your thoughts become lighter. May your breathing slow. And may you fall asleep carrying the same calm Marcus Aurelius searched for beneath the endless Roman sky.